Hello, my friend. Welcome back to Mr. English Lab, the place where your English grows, one story at a time. Today, the boy who dreamed in English. It was early morning in a small village surrounded by green fields and narrow dusty roads. The sun was just waking up, painting the sky with soft orange light. Birds were singing. Farmers were walking to their land. And in one small, quiet house, a young boy named Ravi sat by the window, holding an old English book. He whispered the words again and again, but his tongue felt heavy. "Good morn, ing," he said softly. Then he smiled, a little embarrassed, because even those simple words sounded strange coming from his mouth. Ravi was 16. He loved stories, movies, and songs in English. He wanted to speak confidently, like the people he saw on TV. But in his village, almost no one spoke English. His school had an English subject, yes, but the teacher mostly read from the book. There were no real conversations, no listening practice, no one to talk with. Still, Ravi believed something deep in his heart, that small steps could change big things. Every morning before going to school, he spent 15 minutes reading English words out loud. He didn't understand everything. Sometimes he made mistakes. Sometimes he felt silly. But he continued. Because even when his friends laughed, Ravi told himself, "It's okay. One day I'll speak English easily. One small step at a time." His father, a farmer, didn't really understand why Ravi cared so much about English. "Why not focus on real work?" his father asked one day while fixing his old bicycle. Ravi smiled shyly. "I will, Baba. But I also want to learn something new. I want to see the world." That night, after finishing his homework, Ravi opened a small notebook. On the first page, he wrote a simple goal. "Speak English fluently before I finish school." He looked at it for a long time and then underlined one word, fluently. Days passed. Weeks passed. And still, Ravi practiced every day. Not much. Just a few minutes in the morning and a few at night. He listened to slow English songs on his cheap radio. He repeated lines from English movies quietly, like a secret. Sometimes, when he was alone in the fields, he spoke to the air, pretending he was in another world. But progress was slow. He often doubted himself. Sometimes he wondered, what's the point? No one cares. I'll never speak like them. One rainy evening, while sitting under the tin roof, listening to the soft rhythm of raindrops, Ravi heard his mother call him. She held up a letter from the school. "Ravi, there's a competition next month, an English speaking contest." Ravi's heart jumped. An English contest? Him? Speaking in front of everyone? He wanted to say no immediately. But then he remembered his notebook, his dream written in small, simple letters. He looked up and said quietly, "Yes, Ma. I'll try." That night he couldn't sleep. His heart was full of both fear and excitement. He knew he wasn't ready. He knew others were better. But he also knew something else. He was ready to take the next small step. And so, the next morning, before sunrise, Ravi began to prepare. He practiced greetings, introductions, and small speeches. He stood in front of the mirror, smiling awkwardly, trying to sound confident. He stumbled, stuttered, forgot lines, but kept going. Sometimes his younger sister giggled, but he didn't mind. He just smiled back and said, "Laugh now, but one day you'll see." Little did Ravi know that this small step, this small, nervous decision, would change his entire journey. Because small steps, when taken with courage, can open big doors. The days passed quickly, and the English contest came closer and closer. Ravi felt nervous every morning when he woke up. Even before brushing his teeth, the first thought in his mind was, can I really speak in front of everyone? His school was small, only a few classrooms, one playground, and a tiny library filled with old books. But to Ravi, it felt like a big stage waiting for him to fail. During lunch break, his friends would joke about the contest. One said, "Hey Ravi, are you going to speak English or invent a new language?" Everyone laughed. Ravi smiled too, pretending it didn't hurt, but inside, he felt small. That night, he sat outside under the stars, holding his English notebook. He whispered to himself, "Don't stop, Ravi. Small steps. Just small steps." He opened the book and started reading a short speech he wrote. "Good morning, everyone. My name is Ravi. Today, I want to talk about dreams." He stopped and looked up at the dark sky. Dreams. What a big word. Everyone had dreams, but most people in his village didn't believe they could come true. The next morning at school, Ravi decided to speak English with his teacher. When the bell rang and everyone was leaving, he went up to her desk. "Madam, can I ask something?" he said slowly. She smiled kindly. "Yes, Ravi. Go on." I want to join the English speaking contest. But I'm not good. I want to try." The teacher's eyes softened. "That's wonderful, Ravi. I'm proud of you. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about trying." Her words gave him a small spark of confidence. Sometimes one kind word can push you forward more than 100 lessons. That afternoon, Ravi started practicing even harder. He listened to English words on his old phone, short YouTube clips, songs, and small motivational talks. The internet connection was weak, the sound was often noisy, but he didn't care. He repeated every word he could catch. He also found an old mirror near his house. Every evening, he stood in front of it and practiced smiling, greeting, and speaking. He didn't like his voice at first. It sounded strange, even funny. But he remembered his teacher's words. It's about trying. Slowly, the fear started to change into curiosity. He began to enjoy learning new words. He wrote them down one by one. Hope, courage, dream, journey, success. Each word felt like a small seed planted inside him. But fear wasn't gone yet. 1 week before the contest, something happened. During recess, a group of boys from another class heard Ravi practicing near the library. They laughed loudly. "Hey, listen to his accent. Say that again, English boy." Ravi froze. His heart pounded. He felt his face burn. He wanted to disappear. That day, when he got home, he didn't practice. He just sat silently, staring at his notebook. His mother noticed. "Ravi, what happened?" He looked down. "Nothing, Ma. I don't think I'll join the contest." His heart beat faster and faster. He thought, what if I forget my lines? What if everyone laughs? What if I fail? He wanted to run away. But then he heard his teacher's voice from behind. She whispered, "Ravi, just remember what you told me, small steps, right?" He looked at her and nodded. "Yes. Small steps. This is just one small step." Then his name was called. "Next, we have Ravi from class 10. The curtain opened. The bright light hit his face. He walked slowly to the microphone. His legs felt heavy, but his mind whispered, "Keep going." He looked at the crowd, students, teachers, even his father sitting quietly at the back. His throat went dry. His palms were sweating. But he took a deep breath and began. "Good morning, everyone. My name is Ravi. Today, I want to talk about dreams." For a moment, there was silence. His voice was soft, but clear. He paused, looked around, and continued. "We all have dreams. Some people dream to be doctors. Some want to be teachers. Some want to travel the world. My dream is to speak English fluently." A few students giggled, but Ravi kept speaking. "I know, it sounds simple. But for me, English is not just a language. It is a door. A door that opens to new ideas, new people, and new dreams." He felt a bit stronger now. His words began to flow more naturally. When I started learning, people laughed. Even I laughed at myself. Because I made mistakes, so many mistakes. But every morning I tried again. Because I believe small steps can make big success. He smiled, remembering all the nights he practiced alone. If we walk slowly but never stop, one day we will reach far. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. His voice grew firmer, and suddenly it wasn't fear speaking anymore, it was truth. So, my message is simple. Don't give up on your small steps. Every small word you learn, every sentence you speak, every mistake you make, they all matter. Because one day, they will make your dream come true. When he finished, the hall was silent for a second, and then, people began to clap. It started softly, then louder. His teacher smiled proudly. Even his father clapped from the back. Ravi felt something warm in his chest. It wasn't just happiness. It was pride, the kind that comes after facing fear and standing tall. He walked off the stage with his heart still beating fast, but this time, it was not fear. It was life. It was courage. After the contest, everyone surrounded him. Some students said, "Hey, that was good." Others said, "You spoke better than we expected." For the first time, Ravi didn't feel small. He felt seen. Later, his teacher came up and said, "You did it, Ravi. I'm so proud of you." He smiled shyly and said, "Thank you, madam. I just took one small step." When he got home, his mother hugged him tightly. His father nodded and said, "Good job, son." Those simple words felt heavier than gold. That night, Ravi wrote in his notebook again. "I spoke English in front of everyone today. I was scared, but I did it. My next step, to speak English with people every day." He underlined the last sentence twice. He didn't win the contest that day. Another student got the prize. But Ravi didn't care. Because he had already won something greater, his fear. And that victory would stay with him forever. After the contest, something began to change inside Ravi. He walked differently. He smiled more. He spoke a little more confidently, even if his sentences weren't perfect. Every time someone asked, "How was the contest?" he simply said, "It was good. I learned something." And he truly had. He had learned that fear fades when you walk through it. The following week, he started a new routine. Every morning, before sunrise, Ravi woke up, brushed his teeth, made some tea, and sat by the small window with his English notebook. He would open it and start reading, softly repeating each line. "My dream is to speak English fluently." Small steps lead to big success. He wrote new words each day, words he heard in songs, on TV, or from his teacher. He didn't just memorize them. He used them. When he saw his friend, he tried to greet him in English. "Good morning, Ramesh." His friend laughed. "What's that?" Ravi smiled. "It's English. You can say it too." Bit by bit, he began to enjoy the process. The more he practiced, the more natural it felt. One day, after school, he met his teacher outside the classroom. "Madam," he said shyly, "I want to keep improving. What can I do?" She thought for a moment. You can start a small English club. Invite your friends. Practice together." Ravi's eyes widened. "An English club? In our school?" "Yes," she said. "You can meet after class once a week. You can read stories, talk, or even act in English. Learning is fun when it's shared." That idea stayed in Ravi's mind all night. He was nervous, of course. What if no one joins? What if everyone laughs, he thought. But the next day, during lunch break, he stood up in class and said loudly, "Friends, I want to start something. An English club. We can learn and speak together. No judging, no laughing, just learning." At first, everyone stared. Then one girl raised her hand. "I'll join," she said with a smile. Then another boy. "Me too." And slowly, 5 students agreed. That afternoon, they sat under the big banyan tree near the playground. Ravi brought his notebook. He said, "Let's begin with something simple. Let's each say one sentence in English." They giggled nervously, but they tried. "Hello, my name is Priya. Good afternoon, teacher. I like mangoes." It was funny, awkward, and full of mistakes, but it was beautiful. Because for the first time, they were learning together. Ravi started writing down new words for everyone. Each week, they had a word of the day. Sometimes it was hope. Sometimes believe. Sometimes journey. And every time they said those words, they felt a little more confident. The club became a small movement in their school. More students began to join. Even the teacher sometimes sat with them, correcting pronunciation and laughing with the group. Ravi was proud, but he stayed humble. He knew that he was still learning, still walking slowly, one step at a time. But as his English grew, something else grew too, his belief. He began to see the world differently. He realized that English was not just about grammar or vocabulary. It was about connection with people, ideas, and possibilities. Sometimes he still made mistakes. Once, during the club, he said, "I am go to market yesterday." Everyone laughed. He laughed too. Then he said, Okay, I went to the market yesterday." They all clapped, and the room filled with joy. Ravi had learned something powerful. It's okay to be wrong. Because every mistake is proof that you're trying. Months passed. The English club became popular. They started reading short English stories and acting them out. Ravi began helping younger students with their pronunciation. He wasn't the shy boy anymore. He was the boy who helped others find their voice. One day, his teacher told him, "Ravi, next month there will be a district-level English speech event. Would you like to represent our school?" Ravi froze for a second. He had never been outside his village for a competition before. But then he smiled slowly and said, "Yes, madam. I'll try." That night, he looked at his old notebook again. The first page still said, "Speak English fluently before I finish school." He touched those words gently. Then he whispered to himself, "I'm not there yet, but I'm walking." And so, Ravi began preparing for his next challenge, a bigger stage, a new world, and the next small step toward his dream. The morning sun rose earlier than usual that day. Ravi's small village was awake before dawn. The sound of roosters mixed with the hum of excitement, because today, one of their own, Ravi, the English boy, was going to the district-level English speech competition. His mother packed him some food, chapati, and a small box of sweets. His father checked his shirt, making sure it was ironed properly. "Speak clearly, son," he said softly. "And don't forget where you came from." Ravi nodded. "I won't, Baba." As the old school bus started moving, dust rose from the road. Ravi looked out the window. The fields slowly disappeared, replaced by wider roads, big buildings, and endless crowds. He had never seen so many people, cars, and lights before. Everything felt fast, too fast. He whispered to himself, "This is the world I wanted to see." When they reached the city school where the contest was held, Ravi felt tiny. The building was huge. The students were dressed neatly, speaking English with smooth accents. He suddenly felt the old fear return, the fear of not being enough. He clutched his notebook tightly. Inside were his notes, his speech, and his dreams. He reminded himself, "Small steps, Ravi. One step at a time." In the waiting hall, he listened to other participants. One girl from a private school spoke confidently about global education. Another boy talked about technology in perfect English. Their words sounded like music, smooth, elegant, powerful. Ravi felt his heart sink. "What am I doing here?" he thought. "I don't belong." He quietly walked to the corner and sat down. He looked at his hands, They were shaking. He thought about going back, pretending to be sick. But then he remembered something his teacher once said. Confidence is not when you know everything. It's when you decide not to give up, even when you don't. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He imagined himself standing under the old banyan tree, speaking with his friends. He imagined their laughter, their support. And slowly, his heartbeat began to calm. When his name was called, he stood up. His legs were heavy, but his heart whispered, "Go." He walked to the stage. The bright lights blinded him for a moment. The judges looked serious. He placed his small piece of paper on the podium and began. "Good morning, respected teachers, judges, and my dear friends. My name is Ravi, and I come from a small village where English is not just a language, it's a dream." The audience went quiet. His voice was simple, but full of truth. "In my village, people wake up before the sun. They work hard all day. They don't have time for books, but they have big hearts. I learned English by listening to songs, repeating words, and talking to myself. I made mistakes every day, but I never stopped." He paused, looked at the judges, and smiled gently. "Today, I'm here because I took small steps. I didn't know I'd reach this place. But I learned something. You don't need to be perfect to begin. You just need to begin." The hall was silent. Everyone listened. His accent was not polished, but his words were pure. So, my message is this: don't wait to be perfect. Start where you are. Speak even if your voice shakes. Walk even if your legs tremble. Because small steps can take you further than big dreams without action. He ended his speech with a small bow. And for a moment, there was silence again, that quiet, magical silence before the applause. Then the audience clapped. And this time, it wasn't just polite clapping. It was real, warm, respectful. After the event, one of the judges, a kind woman from the city, walked up to Ravi. "Your English is simple," she said with a smile, "but your message is powerful. You reminded us what learning truly means." Ravi blushed and said softly, "Thank you, ma'am." When the results were announced, Ravi didn't win the first prize. He came third. But for him, it felt like first place. Because he had spoken from his heart, in a language that once made him afraid. Now it made him feel free. On the bus ride back, he looked out at the sunset. The orange light covered the fields and the trees. He whispered, "So this is what success feels like. Not big, not loud, just peaceful." When he returned home, the whole village was waiting. Children ran toward the bus. His teacher smiled proudly. His mother hugged him tightly. His father said only one word, but it meant everything. Proud. That night, Ravi sat at his desk again. He opened his notebook to the same first page and wrote, "Today, I spoke English in a city competition. I didn't win first place, but I won my heart." Then, below it, he added, "Next goal, help others learn with me." He didn't know it yet, but this new goal, helping others, would become the next big step in his journey. Because success is not just reaching your dream. It's helping others walk their path too. The next morning, the whole village seemed a little brighter. Everyone who met Ravi smiled at him with pride. Some said, "You spoke so well, Beta." Others asked, "What was it like in the city?" Ravi smiled humbly and answered in his soft voice, "It was beautiful and big. I was nervous, but I spoke." The little children in the village followed him around, curious about his trip. They asked him to say some English words. "Say something. Say something in English," they shouted. Ravi laughed and said, "Okay, listen carefully. Small steps lead to big success." They repeated after him, some mispronouncing the words, others giggling. But it didn't matter. They were trying. And in that moment, Ravi realized something powerful. Learning English could be fun if it was shared with joy. That evening, while sitting under the banyan tree, Ravi looked at the sunset and thought about his next goal: help others learn with me. He remembered how alone he had felt in the beginning, how he had struggled with pronunciation, fear, and self-doubt. He didn't want others to feel that way. The very next day, he went to his teacher. "Madam," he said, "can I teach the younger students in the afternoon? Just some simple English, greetings, small talks, things like that." His teacher's eyes lit up. "That's a wonderful idea, Ravi. You've learned so much. Sharing it will make you even better." And so it began. Every afternoon, after regular classes ended, Ravi stayed behind with a group of younger students. They sat on the floor in a circle, notebooks open, eyes shining with curiosity. Ravi began with the basics. "Repeat after me. Hello. How are you?" "I am fine. Thank you." They repeated in unison, laughing whenever someone made a funny mistake. "Don't worry," Ravi said gently. "I made the same mistakes when I started. We'll learn together." He taught them small conversations, how to greet, introduce themselves, ask simple questions. He used games, songs, and small stories to make learning fun. One day, a little girl named Meena said shyly, "Ravi Bia, I want to speak English like you." Ravi smiled. "You will, Meena. Just keep taking small steps. One word today, one sentence tomorrow. That's how we grow." Weeks turned into months. Ravi's English sessions became a small tradition in the school. Even some parents began to notice. They said, "Our children are speaking English at home now. They're teaching us." Ravi's teacher was proud. "You've become more than a student, Ravi," she said one day. "You're a leader now." He laughed softly. "No, madam. I'm just someone who knows how hard it is to begin." But inside, he knew something had changed. The boy who once practiced alone in his room was now teaching others under the same tree where he had once struggled to speak his first sentence. One afternoon, while his students practiced their good mornings and thank yous, Ravi noticed something special. They weren't just learning English. They were learning confidence. Each word they spoke made them stand taller, smile wider, and believe in themselves a little more. Later that week, Ravi was invited to give a short talk at a nearby village school. It wasn't a big event, just a few students and teachers gathered in a classroom. But to Ravi, it felt like a new adventure. He stood before them, nervous but excited. "Hello everyone," he began. "My name is Ravi. I come from a small village not far from here. A few years ago, I could not speak even this much English. But I took small steps. Every day. And those steps changed my life." The students listened quietly, their eyes wide. He continued. "You don't need big schools or expensive books to learn. You just need patience, practice, and courage. Speak even if your English is not perfect. Don't be shy. English is not a wall, it's a bridge." After his talk, several students came up to him. They asked how to start learning, how to overcome fear. And Ravi, smiling, gave them all the same advice. Start small. Every small effort counts. That evening, on his way back home, Ravi felt a deep sense of peace. He realized that teaching others was teaching himself too. Each time he explained something, his own understanding became stronger. Each time he encouraged someone, his own courage grew. The once shy boy had become a guide, a helper, and a source of hope for many. At night, he opened his notebook again. He looked at the words he had written months ago. "Speak English fluently before I finish school." He smiled and added underneath, "Fluency is not just speaking fast. It's speaking with confidence and kindness." Then he closed his notebook and whispered, "The dream is still growing." And as he blew out the lamp, the moonlight fell gently on his desk as if even the sky was watching high. Fluency is not just speaking fast. It's speaking with confidence and kindness. Then he closed his notebook and whispered, "The dream is still growing." And as he blew out the lamp, the moonlight fell gently on his desk as if even the sky was watching his journey unfold, one small step at a time. For a long time, life in the village was peaceful. Ravi's small English classes continued, and his students grew more confident every day. He was happy, proud, and full of dreams. But one afternoon, everything began to change. A letter arrived from the city, from the same man who had organized the speech competition months ago. It said there would be a state-level contest this year, with students from all over the region, bigger, tougher, and more professional. And the winner would receive a scholarship to study English in the city. Ravi read the letter twice. His heart pounded with excitement and fear. He wanted to join, but something deep inside whispered, "You're not ready." That night, as he lay in bed, his mind was full of questions. What if my English isn't good enough? What if everyone laughs at me this time? Maybe I was just lucky before. He stared at the ceiling and sighed. All his old fears, the ones he thought he had defeated, came back stronger than before. The next morning, he didn't practice like usual. He didn't smile when his students greeted him. He just said quietly, "We'll skip today's class." His teacher noticed the change immediately. She called him after school. "Ravi, is something wrong?" He hesitated, then handed her the letter. "I got invited to the state competition, but I don't think I'm ready." She read the letter carefully, then looked at him with calm eyes. "Ravi," she said softly, "do you remember your first day learning English?" He nodded slowly. "You were nervous then too. You said you couldn't do it. But you did. So, what's different now?" Ravi looked down. "This time it's bigger. More people, better students, fluent speakers." His teacher smiled gently. "Do you think success means never feeling afraid?" "No, Ravi. Success means doing it even when you are afraid." He didn't answer, but her words stayed in his heart. That evening, he sat under the banyan tree again, watching the sunset fade into the hills. He remembered all the times he had wanted to quit and all the small steps that had carried him forward. Still, the fear wouldn't go away. Days passed. Ravi couldn't focus. His students noticed too. "Ravi Bhaiya, are you okay?" they asked. He smiled weakly. "Just a little tired." Inside, though, he was fighting a quiet storm. Then, one afternoon, a sudden thunderstorm hit the village. Rain poured from the sky, wind howled through the trees. Everyone ran home, everyone except Ravi. He stood under the banyan tree, drenched, looking up at the dark clouds. The rain fell like tears down his face. He whispered, "Why am I so scared again? Why can't I just be brave?" In that moment, a memory flashed in his mind, his father's voice, years ago, saying, "Courage is not the absence of fear, my son. Courage is walking even when the road is wet." Ravi took a deep breath and smiled faintly through the rain. Maybe the storm was not against him. Maybe it was reminding him that every dream must be tested by doubt. The next morning, he picked up his notebook again. He wrote 3 simple lines. "I will go. I will try. I will not stop." From that day, he began preparing again, slowly, carefully, with discipline. He practiced speaking to the mirror, reading out loud, recording his voice, correcting his mistakes. He even practiced in front of his little students, asking them to listen and give feedback. They giggled but took it seriously. One of them, Meena, said proudly, "Ravi Bhaiya, you sound just like the man on the radio." Ravi laughed. "Not yet, but I'm learning." Weeks passed. His confidence began to return. But just a few days before the competition, his voice started to hurt. He had been practicing too much, his throat was sore, and he could barely speak. That night, he panicked. He sat on his bed, clutching his throat, whispering hoarsely, "Not now, please, not now." He drank warm water with honey. His mother gave him herbal tea. But the pain didn't go away completely. The next morning, he stood in front of the mirror again. He tried to speak his opening lines, but his voice cracked halfway through. He closed his eyes, feeling helpless. He almost decided not to go. But then, a knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. It was his students, all of them, standing outside with umbrellas and smiling faces. Ravi Bia, Mina said, holding up a small handmade card, "We made this for you." He opened it and read the words written in crooked letters. "We believe in you. You taught us small steps make big dreams. Now take yours." Ravi couldn't hold back his tears. He looked at them and smiled, his heart full. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice still rough. "I'll do my best." And so, 2 days later, Ravi boarded the bus to the city again, not with a perfect voice, not without fear, but with something stronger than both, belief. The morning of the competition arrived like a golden sunrise after a long, stormy night. The air was fresh, the sky was clear, and the city buzzed with energy. Ravi stepped off the bus, holding his small bag and a folded sheet of paper, his speech. He still felt nervous. His throat was still a little sore. But deep down, something inside him whispered, "You've already won because you didn't give up." The competition hall was huge, even bigger than last year's. There were banners, bright lights, and rows of students in neat uniforms, each holding their own speeches. Some practiced in the corners, speaking fluently. Some looked calm and confident. Ravi stood quietly among them, breathing slowly, reminding himself of every lesson his teacher and students had taught him. When his name was finally called, his heart started racing again. He stepped up to the stage, the spotlight shining in his eyes. For a second, everything felt silent, the crowd, the lights, his thoughts, all frozen in time. He placed his hands on the podium, looked at the audience, and said softly, "Good morning, everyone." His voice cracked a little. He paused, smiled shyly, and continued. "My name is Ravi. I come from a small village where most people don't speak English. For a long time, I thought that made me less important. But one day I realized something. It's not where you start that matters. It's the small steps you take every day that change who you become." The crowd listened quietly. Ravi took a slow breath and went on, his voice growing stronger. "When I began learning English, I was afraid. I couldn't even say one full sentence. People laughed at me. I laughed at myself too. But I didn't stop. Every day, I learned one new word. Every week, I tried one new sentence. Every month, I spoke a little more clearly." He looked around the hall, seeing faces that reminded him of his classmates, his teacher, and his little students back home. "Small steps may look weak," he said softly, "but they build strong hearts. I learned that success is not a big jump, it's a journey made of tiny, brave moments." His voice trembled, but this time with emotion, not fear. When you speak from your heart, even your mistakes sound beautiful. Because your heart speaks truth. The judges looked impressed. The audience was silent, listening deeply. Ravi continued, more confident now. "I don't know if I will win today. But I already feel like a winner because I am not afraid to speak anymore." He paused, smiled gently, and finished with his final line. "Small steps lead to big success, not only in English, but in life." Then he bowed slightly and stepped back from the microphone. For a moment, there was silence. Then a wave of applause filled the hall. Ravi froze, overwhelmed. He saw people smiling, clapping, some even standing up. His eyes filled with tears. He didn't win first prize that day. He didn't win the scholarship either. But something far more powerful happened. A man from the audience, a teacher from a nearby language center, walked up to him afterward. He said, "You spoke from your soul, young man. Would you like to help us teach English to beginners at our center? We need people like you, people who understand what it feels like to start small." Ravi's eyes widened. He couldn't believe it. He nodded, smiling with gratitude. Yes, sir. I would love to. And that's how it began, a new chapter in Ravi's life. He returned to his village, told his teacher and students about the offer, and everyone celebrated together. The children clapped, shouting, Ravi Bhaiya is going to be a real English teacher. His mother cried softly, proud beyond words. His teacher said, I always knew your voice would help others one day. Before leaving for the new job, Ravi visited the old banyan tree one last time. He sat beneath it, feeling the wind, hearing the distant sounds of children practicing English phrases. He smiled and whispered, It all started here. With fear. With small steps. With a dream. He picked up a small stone and wrote in the dirt beside the tree. Every word you speak is a step. Keep walking. Then he stood, looked at the horizon, and walked toward the road leading out of the village. The same road that once scared him, now shining like a path of hope. The camera of life zooms out slowly, the fields golden in the sunset, the banyan tree standing tall, the children's laughter echoing through the air. And in the background, Ravi's voice echoes one last time, calm and steady. Don't wait for perfect moments. Start small. Speak bravely. Walk slowly. Because small steps lead to big success. The screen fades to black. Soft music plays.